It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Thursday, November 2nd, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that, man, you run into a tough goalie and things just don't go in, Russ.
That's a part of it.
Yeah, we will get into that game versus the Sabres, talk about the Stadium Series game, and answer your mailbag questions all on today's show.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at @rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology, and we are at Locked On Flyers pretty much anywhere you look on social media. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. You can subscribe or follow us for free over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe to get the latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, of course, the biggest thing to come out of this game against Buffalo was the Carter Hart injury. He leaves the game about 10 minutes into it. Definitely looked a little shaky, like there was something wrong. Trainer comes out, and then he just decides to pull the plug. And Sam Ersson comes in and plays the remainder of the game.
Yeah, there was a sequence where he kind of was spread out and on his stomach and got up a little slow, and then while there was a stop and play and they were probably at commercial, the trainer came and looked at him and said he was okay, and then after that, a couple more shots, and then that was it. He was done. And so, they're saying mid body. We could all guess at what it might be, but I don't really have a great feeling for what it is, so I'm not going to say.
Yeah, it's tough. After all the consternation we went through with the goaltending decisions, Felix Sandstrom, who was in net for the Phantoms as the Flyers were playing the Sabres, he had an okay game, I would say, for a first game back after being out for quite some time. 24 saves on 28 shots for the Phantoms. They lost in overtime to Hershey. Side note, J.R. Avon got his first pro goal in that
That's
game,
good. Nice.
which was the game time goal to force overtime. So, some early Phantoms Tuesday knowledge there. But I do think that we're going to have to wait and see what happens with Carter Hart and see if they decide to just have Felix Sandstrom come back up.
Or Cal Peterson, if they don't feel like Sandstrom's played enough. That'll be the decision to be made. It probably will be Sandstrom. But again, if all this was handled a little differently, I'm not going to tell you Carter Hart wouldn't have got hurt. But he did play 7 of 9. You never know. But the thing is, Sandstrom now, if they do bring him up, he hasn't played at all. This is his first game. So now you have to play Ersan at least that next game, and they're probably going to play him a couple games. And so it's like, maybe you shouldn't bring Sandstrom up. Maybe you should bring up Peterson until the road trip so Sandstrom can get another game in. That might be the better way, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And, again, we'll wait and see what the decision is and what's going on with Carter Hart. We'll talk more about it on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, the Flyers just had a tough time getting one past Luukkonen. Obviously, had a ton of scoring chances in this game. And, aside from, a very early goal from Joel Farabee, that was kind of a fluke,
That was
but
a fluky goal, yeah.
yeah, but you take them. You take
Oh,
every
sure.
kind of goal you can
Absolutely.
get
Yep.
there. and a great goal from Cam Atkinson, who again continues to play really well overall.
Yeah, when the Flyers were down 2-1 though, Torts was pretty hot and bothered on the bench. He wasn't liking what he saw. It wasn't a great first period. Even though they tied it,
Yeah.
it still wasn't a great first period. It was just one of those things where, hey, they were resilient. They got the game tied. Now, the second period was interesting because they did even out their play, but I felt like they were playing so defensive that and Buffalo was kind of doing the same, that there wasn't a lot of offense for either team in that period. Now, when we get to the third period, yes, Ukko-Pekka played a great game, but there were a bunch of mistakes, a bunch.
Yeah, I think, one of the things was just organization on the rush, I think was a problem to a large degree, especially on some of those rushes in the third period where they just weren't getting optimal chances. Even though they were good, they just weren't optimal and the timing was just a little off. They were shooting a little
Yes.
too early or a little too late.
A lot of
And
missed nets, too, on some really good
yeah,
looks.
yeah. I
Tyson
will say
Foerster
that,
they gave him a great look. I think it was in the second period, and he completely missed the net. Tippett had a really good look that he missed the net. And then the one that he took down the lane, like, there was no way he was going to score that on Pekka the way he was hugging the post. So you kind of wish a Flyer was there to back him up and maybe, not going to rebound, but there wasn't. So, yeah, they missed on those kinds of things for sure.
yeah, I do want to call out Morgan Frost again, though, because I thought he had a pretty solid game
He did.
overall. And I thought he had some really smart plays throughout the game.
He was keeping him out of trouble by bringing the puck
Yeah,
up the ice. He was smart around the neutral zone, wasn't turning the puck over. He played a very intelligent game. He also got killed, I think, by Alex Tuck on one play and came back
yeah,
from that easy. No, he played well. The Travis Sanheim on Tage Thompson, it's a bad play. Tage
yeah.
Thompson just goes right around him and he gets that big goal. That was a tough one. See, Sanheim was kind of like 50-50 that game. There were some good moments and bad moments. He's
Yep,
still learning.
yep.
He's still learning in that top spot. But the other parts of this game, like, again, I felt like the fourth line usage was excessive. I don't know how many minutes they had, but they put him out there like on a defensive zone sequence. And of course, they lost the puck and then they have a hard time getting the puck back. I didn't understand using them that way. It didn't make sense to me. And
They
look,
had about a little over 10 minutes on that
yeah, so
line.
that was, I felt like they probably should have just been used the requisite 8. Um but Lawton's trying, but again, he's not a miracle worker. It's not his fault. That line's kind of dead when it comes to scoring. That's really what it is. And then puck possession wasn't so good, but the thing is, with the bottom pairing, if you're going to lose games, then you might as well lose with the young guys on the bottom pairing and not have Zamula be the only guy in there, because again, Louis Belpedio, he's just not doing anything. He's not doing anything to hurt you. He's not doing anything to necessarily help you. He's just filling a void. And I don't know how long you want to go filling a void when you might have somebody that after a few games could start picking it up as a young player and really get some great experience and improve. I just feel like that's something where, the defense is just too veteran right now. They're not showing off well enough that I would keep it that way.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. And I also can see, Torts not wanting to make any change because he's the don't
Right.
change things that you don't have to kind of guy. But I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I still don't think, until we go through this entire weekend of Phantoms games, they're even going to consider anybody else until after that point. So another to be continued conversation there. But in the meantime, I was able to attend the opening press conference that they had through the NHL for the Stadium Series game that the Flyers are playing in February, and we will get to that coming up next.
You know that feeling when your favorite Flyers player scores a hat trick? If you want to get that feeling and win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. As the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. Fans can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, MLB, and college football in Sleeper, and entries can be made in under a minute. With elite players like Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, and Austin Matthews, plus the new guys like Connor Bedard, all you need to do is make more or less picks on stats for these stars. Choose from stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. To win on a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Flyers fans. You could win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
On tomorrow's show, we will be talking about Flyers versus Sabres part the second, as well as previewing the weekend matchup against the LA Kings in the second half of that back-to-back. I had the pleasure of going to MetLife Stadium for the NHL's opening press conference for the Stadium Series that's taking place in February. It was very interesting, I gotta say. It was kind of a bummer because I didn't get to go at field level because they moved it
Yeah,
inside
yeah,
because of the weather. So that was kind of a bummer. But the stadium looked gorgeous, and they had mocked up where the ice was going to be,
yeah. I
with
saw pictures.
yeah, like temporary boards, and the screen was all lit up, obviously, and yeah, so it was really cool. They had, it was a lot of people on the dais because there's 4 teams
Yeah,
involved. Plus they had Governor Murphy there from New Jersey, as well as, of course, Gary Bettman. I think a presser like this is the only environment where he's not going to get booed because it's all the
right.
professionals there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But um, so coming out of that press conference, we did learn that there will be a music concert experience on Saturday night, but they were not going to say who it was yet, or if there's multiple musicians involved. We don't know yet. But the Flyers Devils game will be the 40th outdoor game for the NHL. The Rangers Islanders will be the 41st, but the Flyers have the honor of participating in the 40th, which is, a pretty decent milestone for the league for going back to when they first started.
Yeah, I'm well into double digits. I might be around 20, maybe even over 20. So yeah, I probably am over 20 actually. Yeah, it's a cool thing. I know I've been on the field there and I could tell you, compared to other football stadiums, because like I was at Heinz Field and a bunch of the others, Lincoln
Yeah, same.
Financial, it's gonna be a lot like the Lincoln Financial, and that was good. And so I
Yep.
think it's gonna look very similar to that.
Yeah, all the sight lines looked like they were going to be fantastic. So
Yes.
I think, if you're
It's
going,
a
no
big
matter where you're,
place, but when you're watching a game there, the views are great. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing about it. It's a intimidating place from the outside. It takes a half an hour, just so everybody knows, no matter where you think you're sitting and whatever time game starts, you need a half an hour to get to your seat. I'm just letting you know that now. But
yeah,
otherwise, it's going to be a good venue.
yeah, definitely got a sense of the perspective there, and it seems like every seat there is gonna be a good seat. So, yeah, and if you've never been to an outdoor game, highly recommend it. Like, I've been to 6 of them,
Yeah,
just
sit as
sitting
high
in
as
the
you can.
stands. Yeah, sit high up so you can see everything and get a full view of everything. I think as far as the Flyers side of things go, I did get to talk to Keith Jones directly after the press conference was over, and I talked to him about, how are they going to make this fun for Flyers fans because there's kind of the lone visiting team in the metro
Right.
area where it is, and he said, sometimes it can work to your advantage if we start well in the game, and really we're going to push to get our fans to attend as well. And there was a really funny joke when Governor Murphy was interviewed. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to root for the Devils because New Jersey." And Keith Jones up on the dais said something about, well, our practice facility is in New Jersey and a lot of our guys live there. So maybe you should think about rooting for the Flyers too. We have a full video of that, which will drop in the show at the end of this segment. But it was really cool. I also asked him about just in terms of him wanting to get more involved in the day to day on the player level, does he miss the broadcasting side of things and, being kind of one removed with Danny Briere there as the GM? And he's like, no, he's like, we have a really great balance. I'm having a lot of fun working with Danny and he's so smart. And I was like, you're not just saying that because he's 2 feet away from you right now. And he's like, no, he's a great guy. And
Keith will tell you the truth. That's the one thing he's always told me the truth.
Yeah. I did also ask him about Sean Couturier because, this is the 40th outdoor game and Sean Couturier is the current Flyer that has the most outdoor game experience. He's got 5 of them under his belt. James Van Riemsdyk, who we just lost, had 7 with his time with the Leafs. But so I was like, it's a special occasion. Might there be a letter on his jersey at this game? And Keith Jones said, yeah, he always has a letter, you just can't see it. And so he kind of went into, I thought it was a really good quote actually. So he said, I think in this case
it's a little sad too. I mean, again, I don't understand the way the Flyers are doing it. I don't. Yeah, and it's really sports. It's not the Flyers.
Right. He said, the captaincy is something he doesn't need to worry about, but he leads by example. He'll be unaffected of whether he has that letter on the sweater or not, because he's such a great player. And we want him to make a priority of getting back into the rhythm of playing after missing 2 years of hockey. We don't need to add to that by, a guy who really is just a player who leads by example and always has been. So, so I tried. I thought it would be
a shot, but again,
I did.
Nobody's going to be able to explain it to a point where I think it's good.
Yeah. I did also speak with Steve Mayer, who's the director of event presentation for MetLife Stadium, because I also wanted to see what the stadium is going to do to make Flyers fans feel welcome in the building. And he talked a lot about, the transition over between games. It's going to be a real challenge for them to turn it over from a Devils Flyers game to a Rangers Islanders game in one night. And especially because they're going to be putting on this concert after the game. They're not going to
they do have all the lit boards that wrap around, so they're going to do the colors with that for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's 100% right on this, but I think he's headed in the right direction where he's like, I love the people in Philly and I think they kind of respect New Jersey music and entertainment, and it has to be New Jersey focused because that's where we are.
I think they're going to try and get Bon Jovi. Whether they're able to, we'll see, but that's what they're going to try.
Yeah, well, I tried like 2 or 3 different people to try and get it out of him and nobody was talking.
I'll give you a dark horse. A dark horse could be like if Max Weinberg has a band, because he is a Devils season ticket holder.
Yeah.
I've seen him at Stanley Cup games. So Max Weinberg, you could see something there with him.
Yeah, of course he is part of the E Street Band.
Yeah.
For those not familiar with that name, and played with Bruce Springsteen as well. So
you spoke to Nick Mangold, and
I
wanted you to talk to him because I'm a Jets fan, but also because he's a really he's a very personable guy. He's a lot of times these centers in the NFL, Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, sorry, Travis is his brother. Like Jason Kelce with the Eagles, these guys have a really good personality. So what'd you get out of them?
So yeah, he was super cool and said that he was still in the learning phase in terms of hockey, but that he loves the sport. He has skates and is skating around with his kids, and so he's definitely getting into it.
Yes, I'm going to go to the media skate for sure because I'm going to expect to see him there. I think he'll be out there.
Yeah, and I asked him, well, what position would you play? And he's like, I don't know enough about the rules and the positions yet to make a decision, but I just want to hit people. And I was like, that checks out, football player.
Does check out. That's good though. But it's good that they had a football player there because I think, again, lot of people in New Jersey know who he is.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. And again, I really think that the stadium is gonna be it's gonna be decked out and it's gonna look really cool. And if you've never gone to one, like this might be a fun one to go
Mass
to. And
transit's easy too. Like you just need to get to Secaucus Station, and then there's a train that goes right to MetLife, and you're better off just doing that than trying to drive, honestly.
But yeah, a good time was had by all. I think it was like the Devils and Islanders mascots were there as well. So, they tried to make it a little festive. But I will drop in the video of what Danny Briere and Keith Jones had to say when they were talking to Kevin Weeks coming up right now.
And let's cross the Delaware River to Philly. So we've got Danny Briere and Keith Jones. Jonesy, I'm going to start off with you. Congratulations, by the way, on your new roles.
Thank you.
Absolutely, richly deserved. You grew up in Brantford, Ontario, same hometown as the great 99, the great Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure you would have played a lot of outdoor hockey growing up. And you've been around the game in your awesome broadcasting career. The Flyers are now becoming a little bit more competitive. You guys are opening some eyes around the league. What does this mean to your franchise?
It means a lot, and obviously the culture within our franchise is something that we're really trying to focus on and make sure that we build from within. Dan Hilferty leading the way. Our governor is here today, which is great to see. Ownership has really bought into what we're trying to do. We want to be at where teams like the Devils, Islanders, and Rangers are at right now, eventually. I'll remind Governor Murphy, a lot of our players live in New Jersey. A lot of our residents, our practice facility is in New Jersey. We have a lot of ties. Don't cheer too hard for the Devils. I can use another fan. But, we're in a growth period. We're having a lot of fun. Danny and I, working together to try to get things back on track. So we're really looking forward to our fans having an opportunity to come up here. It's an hour drive. To enjoy some great hockey outdoors that I know the players love playing in and their families love being a part of. I've been fortunate to see a lot of those games through my broadcasting career and cover them, and just to see how much more that type of regular season game means to the players. I think it really is something that you can build upon. I think the fans are going to have a great time watching it.
Well, I'll kick it to Danny now. You've played in the league a long time. You were kind of ahead of your time as being what was considered to be an undersized player, but a very skilled player, a creative player, which fits the mold of today. So you certainly understand your players. But maybe you can speak to the fans and some of the orange and black. I love playing in Philly since my early days in the AHL, but they've got great fans. So maybe you can speak to how many that we might see migrate from Philly up here.
Amazing fans. I was very fortunate to play in front of the fans in Philly. And I know we hear all the time how that they can be hard, they can be tough on the players, but they're passionate, they love their sports. It was a privilege really to play there. When I started, the game was a little different. I tried to run away and survive in the league, but it's changed a lot. The rules now I think makes our game a lot more exciting. It's really fabulous to see. And having a chance to play here on such a big stage for our players, but also for the fans to enjoy. Like we said, we're just down the turnpike here. A lot of our guys are in Jersey, so it's going to be a blast to have all the fans from the four teams having a chance to watch here at MetLife.
Awesome stuff.
When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who will only see it in search. As soon as you sponsor a post, you get that short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed matches your job description. Plus, you can invite them to apply right away. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to get started hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel. America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if you're thinking about joining FanDuel. There's no better way to snap into the action this NFL season with them. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get into the action this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, wrapping up today's show with our mailbag. John wants to know about the power play. Assistant coach Rocky Thompson has to be held accountable too. He was hired because of his power play guru reputation, having developed some of the sport's strongest collegiate power play programs and 2 Stanley Cup winning power play unit teams. But his tenure as the power play expert here has been dead last in the league. It can't be all on the players, can it?
No, it's not, because we've had different players for 2 years now. There are better players here now this year, and they're falling into the same traps. Bad zone entries, not set up, can't get set up, don't go to the net. There's at least 3 or 4 things that they're not doing. You rarely see one guy go to the other side and cut across the grain. They have players that can do that. When you do that, you can really cause some havoc. Matchup problem wise, do you ever see them do that, Rachel? I mean, I never see them do that. They do it in every other league and many other teams. So yeah, I do think he needs to sort of switch up. Torts needs to get them to switch up responsibilities and take Rocky Thompson off the power play, because I just think he's failed.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where you go with it in terms of, is can you put Bradshaw on it, or is
Yeah,
this
that's what
something
you have to do.
that Torts needs to take control of himself? But they absolutely need to switch things around. I think they need some system adjustments. I think you're right. They need to move the player personnel around a little bit and just really start from scratch here. And
They
I
need to
think
start from scratch.
this is a tough week to do it with 4 games in 6 days.
Sure,
They
maybe
gotta
this isn't the week, but you can't keep using that excuse either, because you're going to need it to actually have guys develop to try and get them to play better.
Absolutely. So they got to find time for it and dedicate, some real thought into what they want to do, because I do believe the Flyers have the personnel to at least be, you know, 15-20% better than they are right
Yeah,
now.
they're at like 14% or something like that, and that's up from
Yeah.
5%. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been pretty pitiful.
Yeah. Steve wants to know, what can the Flyers do to balance this new aggressive approach with defensive responsibility?
Well, I mean, again, we've talked about it. It's okay to have aggression. It's not okay to put your team in a bad spot and, get a fighting major when you don't need it. There's certain times, look, if they're down 4-0 in the game and a guy gets a fighting major, I'm not going to bother him over it. It's fine. Game's most likely over, and that's fine. There should be a limit to how many fights Nick Seeler wants to get himself in, because he is a defenseman, and it does shorten the bench too much for that. That is an issue. You don't see a lot of defensemen fighting in this league, and there's a reason, and that's the reason. So, but
Right.
there's
And I think that's why Delorier has taken on more of the fights thus
yes,
far.
yeah, and because that's really mostly his job. Hathaway, that used to be half of his job, because again, they just got their first goal the other night for the fourth line all season. So it's like, if they're not controlling the play and they're not getting points, it's okay to have them out there, but you got to be aggressively smart and at least control the puck. And they don't do a great job of that either. But I think now with Lawton there, it's helped it a lot. And that's no shot on Paling. It's just the upgrade Lawton over Paling. And so,
Yeah.
you have to sort of look at that. But if nothing else, yeah, there is a way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that if they're trying to come from behind as well, they have to, they can take some risks, but then you also have to be able to cover your bases there and not get yourself in trouble by going a man down when
Yeah.
you're trying to come back as well. Jess wants to know, what does Tyson Foerster have to do to get going offensively, and will they take him out?
So what they have to do is, with Tyson Foerster, is he will get taken out eventually. I mean, there are only going to be so many games they're going to give him. They're giving him more rope than other players, because the coach likes him and they like his shot. But he needs to not think about things the same way as Tippett. It needs to just be fluid. They get him the puck, he shoots it, and he doesn't think about it. I've noticed there's that little extra,
Yeah.
1/10 of a second that's adding to his thinking time, and NHL goalies are going to stop it. When he starts getting confidence, he can start working on the angles because he needs to vary his angles a lot more. I don't notice him doing that much. But right now he's not scoring at all. So you kind of have to just start it off slow. It may be too much for him right now, and we'll find out soon. But that's what's really happening with him.
Yeah, it's just the one of these things where he just needs one to get going, and then I think the confidence will be there for him. And I do think for him, sitting a game is not a bad thing, and I don't think it would be something that would hurt his confidence because that's something he needs to build. So maybe watching a game
Right.
or two is pretty good. Last question. Blake wants to know who's off to the best start in the team, in your opinion.
Travis Konechny. He's off to the best start. He, aside from that one turnover that maybe hopefully doesn't get in his head now and he doesn't stop scoring a little bit. Up to that point, he was scoring at the best clip of his career, really. So he looks like a leader. He acts like a leader. He scores the big goals. He's their best player. Couturier's added a lot of things to the lineup. Don't get me wrong, but Travis Konechny is their best offensive player.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, relative to expectation, I would say Cam Atkinson, just because I just really didn't have any idea what he was going to look like
Sure.
this
Yeah,
season. It
that's
was
fair.
really hard to tell. But he is just, I think he is getting close to back to his level of game here, and he's contributing, he's scoring goals, getting assists. I think that he's just been a real bright spot this season so far, and I'm really happy to see that for him.
Yeah, same here. I'm happy.
All right, that will do it for today's show. Of course, we will be back tomorrow to recap or to talk about Sabres Part 2 and preview the game against the Kings. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions for us, you can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com, send us a message on Twitter at lockedonflyers, or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Have a great day.